Gbillah, representing Gwe East, Gwe West Federal Constituency of Benue State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move a motion on the need to prevent the politicization of the social intervention schemes of the federal government, ascertain the recipients, and ensure proper identification and selection of targeted vulnerable Nigerians. The House notes that the ruling All Progressives Congress APC government has as one of its cardinal policy initiatives the introduction of 4 social intervention schemes for the various segments of the Nigerian society. The House also notes that the schemes include the homegrown school feeding program, where local vendors will be selected to prepare required meals for about 5.5 million primary 1 to primary 3 school pupils in all the states. The House further notes that other aspects of the scheme include the Empower program, which targets university graduates and non-graduates who will be trained and equipped as teachers and agricultural and health workers on a monthly stipend of 30,000 naira for the graduates among them. The House equally notes that the scheme includes the conditional cash transfer of 5,000 naira, which will be augmented by the World Bank with an additional 5,000 naira to be paid monthly to 1 million Nigerians, and then the Government Enterprise Empowerment Program, which is a loan scheme of between 10,000 to 100,000 naira for market women, artisans, small businesses, and the unemployed youth. The House is aware that the Vice President, Yemi Osinbajo, had on Monday, the 2nd January 2017, announced that the federal government had commenced payment to vulnerable Nigerians under the 4 schemes in certain states of the Federation, indicating that the school feeding program and CCT have commenced in 3 states. Half of the 200,000 initial beneficiaries of the Empower program have started receiving payment in 20 states, and disbursement of the GEEP loans had commenced since November 25th, 2016 in 14 states, including the Federal Capital Territory. The House appreciates the efforts of the federal government to fulfill its promises, but is concerned about the efficacy of the methodology and criteria employed for identification and selection, and the veracity of the identity of the beneficiaries, and the certainty of the selection of the targeted demographic without extraneous and political influences which still leave cause for concern and reservations by Nigerians. The House is also aware that while the Empower program involves the online registration of the targeted beneficiaries, which unfortunately also prevented Nigerians who could not have access to or were not conversant with the internet from participating. The CCT beneficiaries were supposedly identified from a social register based on a, in quote, tried and trusted community-based targeting method with the World Bank, referenced by an article by someone, Isaiah, in 2017, which majority of Nigerians are completely oblivious of. While there was no indication about how beneficiaries of the GEEP and the school feeding program, institutions and vendors were identified and selected, the House is concerned about reports that the federal government has completely ceded the identification and selection process for these programs to the states, to be superintended by coordinators appointed by state governments without the oversight or involvement of the federal institutions who conceptualized and approved the appropriation of funds for these schemes, except for the approval of payment. The House is informed that the ceding of this responsibility solely to the states has allegedly resulted in the nomination of beneficiaries who are loyal party members and stalwarts of the state governments, excluding Nigerians who are genuinely in need of this intervention. The House is cognizant of the need to protect the interests of all Nigerian citizens, regardless of party affiliation, and to ensure equitable participation of all Nigerians in the social intervention schemes of the federal government. The House therefore resolves to mandate the Committees on Finance and Appropriation to conduct an investigative hearing involving the Federal Ministries of Finance, Budget and National Planning, the Vice President's Office, state coordinators and all stakeholders to ascertain the method of identification and selection, the lack of involvement of all critical stakeholders, and confirmation of the identity of beneficiaries, and report back within 4 weeks for further legislative action. I so move, Mr. Speaker. Not in doubt that this is a very innovative and novel intervention by this administration, which is very commendable and which I personally am in support of. But the spirit behind this motion, Mr. Speaker, is to be able to enable this very honorable institution to provide our constitutional duty of oversight to ensure that the interests of every Nigerian is properly and adequately covered with regard to these schemes. As highlighted in the body of the motion, there are allegations that this scheme has been hijacked in certain states of the Federation without the input of the critical demographic or stakeholders that are important and that inform the reason why this administration initiated the social intervention schemes in the first place. And it is important for us to also understand the criteria that has been used to select these individuals and to ascertain the fact that those individuals that are really in dire need of this intervention are the people that have been selected in all states of the Federation. I think it will be the responsibility of this honorable House to protect the interests of all Nigerians equitably and to ensure that they enjoy these schemes devoid of politicization, as I have indicated in the body of the motion, and that we, as this honorable House, protect the interests of these Nigerians and provide the necessary oversight with the related arms of government to ensure that these monies that we appropriated are intended for is actually what transpires. This is a motion that I believe is at the very heart of the issues we have in this country, and if we want to carry our people along, we need to ensure that whatever is instituted by this executive and appropriated for by this National Assembly is adequately disbursed to the target audience. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I want to make an observation. There was an oversight based on the standing orders of this House in the prayers in terms of the committees, and I think the related committee should be the Committee on Poverty Alleviation, and I'll crave the indulgence of this honorable House to want to seek an amendment in that regard. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Imam.
Very peculiarly amend the resolution of my motion because of the extant facts I'm aware of from our standing rules of this honorable House. And my amendment is as follows: that the House resolves to mandate the Committee on Poverty Alleviation and Finance, because of the financial component, to conduct an investigative hearing involving the Federal Ministries of Finance, Budget and National Planning, the Vice President's Office, the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Poverty Alleviation, state coordinators and all stakeholders to ascertain the method of identification and selection, the lack of involvement of all critical stakeholders and confirmation of the identity of beneficiaries, and report back to the House within 4 weeks for further legislative action. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Rise to second the amendment as ably moved by.
Those against it say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of the motion as amended say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it.